The human psyche holds no less mystery than the depths of the ocean. Scientists are constantly exploring the brain and discovering new patterns of behavior, and the number of surprises is always growing. To learn something interesting about yourself as a human being is always exciting. From this video you'll learn 25 facts about human psychology. You'll get to know yourself a little bit better, and you'll find it easier to cope with the challenges of life. Brain activity continues even when we're resting. There's a filtering out of what really needs to be stored in the memory, and what to put away as a reserve. When you wake up in the morning, you never forget what's really important to you, but also will not remember what you stopped attention yesterday. A person feels more successful and happier only when his brain is occupied with something. Gray matter isn't interested in monotonous work, it's all about the constant hectic concentration and switching from one job to another, only in such that a person feels happy. Also, when a person becomes happier than usual, their need for sleep is reduced. Studies show that a happy person's sleep is shorter by about 10%. You can't ignore to the food, to the sex, to the dangers. Have you ever noticed that people are always stopped to look at scenes of accidents? Actually, we can't ignore to a situation of danger. Every human being, there's a particular part of the brain that's responsible for survival and reproduction. Researchers have proven that if a person in their youth was able to refuse to do something that they wanted very much, life's trials are easier, and with minimal losses, people are able to accept the most monstrous changes in their lives calmly, provided these changes are gradual. In one fell swoop, why do people live in marriages that destroys the psyche? The answer is simple: they got used to it, and they put up with it. Because the changes didn't happen overnight, and people have time to get used to the bad things. Their reality was changing, but slowly, and in the end it wasn't normal and became normal. It doesn't take more than 2 months to get used to something. It takes no more than 2 months. 66 days to be exact. That's how long it takes a person in order to form and to automate any action. For example, if you want to switch to eat right, you might take a little less than about 55 days. But it takes longer to get used to sports. Up to 75 days every day in your head. The average person has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts. A million times more powerful computer, but look at what we're using it for. That power, 80% of our thoughts are negative, and most of the negative thoughts are repeated day in and day out, so that all the stupid thoughts that sometimes come into your head is absolutely are normal. It happens to everybody. The best cure for anxiety and stress is to read. Has a quicker effect on the body. Surprisingly, it's a much better way, is much better than taking alcohol. More effective than taking a walk, having a cup of tea, or listening to music. Psychology has the principle that the more expectations you have about an event, the more likely it is crushing disappointment. More you wait, less you get more. If there's a broken glass, soon there won't be a single intact window in, and then there's no one left, and then there's looting. Is the basic idea, and of the theory of broken windows. And the broader the theory is that people are much more willing to break the rules and norms of behavior if they see clear signs of disorder around them. This has been repeatedly experimentally, it's been proven time and time again that a little bit of disorder and sloppiness in your life can lead to global problems in the future. People are reluctant to contradict a calm person. On the contrary, when someone who is fiercely aggressive and defends their opinion will be resisted and argued with. There is no better word for a man. A better word than his name is the first thing you should remember when you meet a person. The name is not job title, not profession, but name is basic rule of establishing a good. Psychologists have determined that a woman only needs 45 seconds to assess an unfamiliar man, of which 10 seconds she builds a general impression of the figure, 8 seconds evaluates eyes, 7 seconds to look at hair, 10 seconds to look at lips and chin, 5 seconds on the shoulders, and the last 5 seconds looks at the ring, if there is one. People who suffer from depression often say that they perceive the world around them in gray tones. It turns out it's not that simple. The psychological phenomenon of grayness of colors in depression has a physiological basis in a depressed state, the human retina. Retina becomes less sensitive to color contrast, and is less able to distinguish shades, but right back if you're gray and dull colors around you. The likelihood of getting depressed or moping considerably increases. Incompetent people often end up higher up the career ladder than their more qualified colleagues according to the Dunning-Kruger effect. People with low skill levels tend to overestimate their abilities, and making a bad decision are often incapable of realizing they are wrong. People with high qualifications look at things more soberly and vice versa tend to underestimate their abilities and believe that others don't think highly of them. These conclusions were experimentally confirmed in 1999. In 1999, women feel loved by communicating face-to-face with their partner. Men, on the contrary, experience emotional intimacy in communication when they work, play, or talk sitting next to partner. The most famous example of cheating through honesty: the person who voices their dishonest intentions will appear in the more honest in the eyes of others than a person who has those intentions is completely absent or hides them. You can only remember 3-4 elements at the same time. There is a rule of the magic number 7 plus or minus 2, according to which a person cannot store more than 5-9 blocks of information at the same time. Most of the information in short-term memory is stored for 20-30 seconds, after which we quickly forget it. Only if we don't repeat it over and over again. The child begins to perceive its separate self only after 2 years' birth, and before that it feels as one with the whole world around it, just as we think of our hand, leg as itself. So the baby considers the world around it as part of itself. 90% of all illnesses are psychological in nature. The only way a person can be finally healthy be only in the restoration of his mental equilibrium. It is proven that a child deprived for a long time physical contact with people degenerates and may die as a result of this lack of physical and emotional connection can be fatal to a person. Is a kind of sensory hunger that needs to be stimulated in everyone's life. The observations psychologists show that in face-to-face interlocutors are incapable of to look at each other constantly, and an extra more than 60% of the total time. However, the time of eye contact can go beyond in 2 cases: in people who are in love, and in aggressive people. So if an unfamiliar person stares long and hard, staring at you for a long time, most of the time it's a sign of latent aggression. The constriction and dilation of the pupils is not subject to the mind, so their reaction shows very clearly your partner's interest in you. Dilated pupils tell you that there's more interest in you, and hostility will tell you their constriction. But this phenomenon should be observed in dynamics because pupil size also depends on light. In bright sunlight, the pupils of human pupils are narrow. In a dark room, the pupils dilate. If you decide to start an important business, never tell anyone about it, or else it won't work out when you announce your plans. Your brain puts an imaginary checkmark done, and it's very difficult to convince it otherwise. It's very difficult to convince him otherwise to their beliefs, but psychologists have confirmed this pattern by serious studies and surveys. In order to gain a person's trust, you have to hold them in your arms for about 20 seconds on a voluntary basis, of course. It's all about oxytocin, which is a hormone produced in the body when we feel safe, including when we're around people we care about. It's also soothing and relaxing. Another argument for a hug on long winter evenings. If you like this video, be sure to write your opinion and subscribe to the channel, friends, and see you later. See you again.